All right, everyone, welcome to a special edition of Sensei Chat. We are with the CEO of Coda Finance. I'm very excited to welcome you. There's a lot we can talk about. I know I've been in multiple spaces with you. You are one of the brightest and most open CEOs as far as just being able to answer questions very fluidly, easily, and you just know you have every answer. So I'm excited to dig into what Coda's doing and how you can participate if you're interested. And then I also have some really great crypto news that we're going to go over as soon as the interview is over. So without further ado, I want to welcome you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the community and YouTube? Who are you, and what did you do when you wanted to build Coda? And what was the idea behind that?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And wow, what an introduction. I'm going to do my best to live up to all the great stuff that you said. So a bit about me. My name is Dhruv Dang. I am the founder of Coda and Steadily. So Coda is an ecosystem and a DAO, and our mission is to decentralize institutional financial services for everyone. And the for everyone part is the most important thing. Like what we're trying to do is make great financial services accessible to people with just a few dollars to their name, all the way to billionaires. We care about the whole spectrum of people, and we believe it's about time financial services caught up. I have a banking background. I studied finance economics in university. I've been coding since I was 14, held engineering positions at places like Apple and Change.org. I am very much a believer in public services and the public good. I ran a public service consulting company where we built apps for the BC government and would compete with firms like Deloitte and Ernst& Young and win procurements against them, which was pretty awesome to do with like a 3-person team. I just love to build stuff. That's the thing you need to know about me and my work. And the team that I work with is we just love doing things right. And with Coda, what we're trying to do is build this ecosystem, this economy that centers around the Coda token, where anyone can be an ecosystem partner that is aligned with our mission and build services as that are part of it. Steadily, our sort of operating company here in Canada, is the first ecosystem partner. As the core team, we know we play a very important role, and we run 2 ecosystem apps, Constant and 3Balance. So kind of talking about 3Balance a little bit earlier. Constant is the only decentralized, fully on-chain, fixed-rate money market that uses an order book settlement mechanism. This is exactly what banks use in the interbank market when they settle their loans at the end of each day. It's exactly how money markets work in the world right now, where trillions of dollars change hands every month. So we wanted to bring that to crypto and allow people to trade with as little as 10 cents of US dollar coin all the way up to billions of dollars in the same level playing field. That's been live on Arbitrum One since August. 3Balance is the only self-custodial portfolio rebalancing tool. It enables you to think in terms of percentages about your portfolio and trade like a fund manager. It's how all the billionaire fund managers out there think about their portfolios. We wanted to make it possible for people with a meme coin portfolio or a DeFi or altcoin-centered portfolio across many chains. We're growing and building everything. There's a ton of stuff to get into, and I'm going to hand it back to you.
Oh man, see, I now people know why I gave you such a good intro. Where do we start? Let's do this. How does Coda DAO aim to address the issue of financial accessibility, and what specific features or initiatives within the ecosystem support this goal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think for us, we are an on-chain first company. So we don't build off-chain services. And why does this matter? So, in this audience, I think most people might understand this, but just to sort of clarify it, traditional finance works when there's an institution that takes your funds and then offers you something in exchange for that. So think of a bank deposit. You're depositing funds in a bank. They'll keep your funds safe, in quotes, because you had a few bank failures over the last decade. Yep. And they'll give you some kind of yield, maybe an interest rate. And if you lock those funds for longer, you'll get more greater returns. But that's highly centralized. And what that ends up doing is concentrating power of those funds in a capitalist society, just like the ones that we live in, for the people that manage those funds. So the BlackRocks of the world, the Vanguards, all of the banks that we know. And this centralized system is very, very prone to failure because, as humans, we're fallible and these systems are managed by humans. On-chain systems, however, for finance, allow us to do things in a self-custodial way, which means that when things are on your wallet, you don't have to trust the central party. And this is like crypto 101. This is what Bitcoin enabled for us back in 2008. That hasn't changed. What the Coda ecosystem does is return to these first principles. We are sort of trying to cut through all the noise and the narratives that come and go in crypto, especially in DeFi, and say, look, there are fundamental values that come out of building crypto companies and apps. And that's how we can actually solve the problems we have in our financial system. So if you look at Three Balance, for example, it does exactly what a fund manager would do, but just uses self-custodial fund management and rebalancing. Constant does exactly what a traditional finance money market does, but it does it fully on-chain. So it solves this core problem where you don't have to rely on a bank or a large central authority. And we hope that ecosystem partners will do the same going forward.
And I mean, what you built is what's needed, right? Being able to have these tools without going to a third party or an institution that maybe charge you a bunch of money to do this. I mean, how does Coda itself make money from these applications that you've built out with like Three Balance and Constant? Or do you guys take a fee, or is it more of you just want to get people into the ecosystem and you offer these things for free? How does it all work?
Yeah, this is a great question. And value transfer is sort of like a real mystery in a lot of protocols. For us, it's pretty simple. So these apps are owned externally of the Coda ecosystem. The idea here is that we want people to be incentivized to build these things and build assets that have value over the long run. These partners enter into ecosystem partnership agreements where, in exchange for some tokens or marketing support, based on the result of governance votes, they will build these apps and then share a portion of their revenues with the Coda DAO. So the exact level of revenue share depends on each ecosystem partner. So for Steadily, like for Three Balance and Constant, it's 50% of net revenue. Net revenue basically means profit, but it adds wages back in. So it's, we're not like, no one in the team is taking wages out of that amount. It allows us to cover things like customer acquisition cost and marketing campaigns. That gets paid into the Coda DAO. So what is the Coda DAO? Coda DAO is basically a collective of people that own a token called VE Coda. VE Coda has no monetary value, it's not transferable, and it can only be earned by staking Coda tokens or associated LP tokens. And it's something that you can earn continuously over time with no limit, based on how much you stake and how long you stake for. So when you become a Coda DAO member through your VE Coda ownership, these rewards get distributed to you through a reward distributor smart contract over a series of epochs, and your VE Coda ownership at the end of each epoch determines your share of those rewards. So if $100 is distributed, for example, in Coda tokens, and you own 10% of VE Coda at the end of an epoch, you get $10. So that's the core way the value transfer happens in the Coda DAO. So the onus is on the ecosystem partners to create revenue from what they're actually doing, which is why Steadily is so service oriented. Three Balance is a service. It's not trying to lock up funds or just get TBL for the sake of it for some fundraising event in the future. We are providing a service. We make it easier to rebalance your portfolio, saving like a ton of time in a very error-prone process, and giving people access to the best on-chain liquidity available. And we get paid for that through swap spreads. So that's built into the transaction cost. There's no explicit fees that people pay. And then that revenue is what's used to compute the revenue share paid with the DAO. Constant is very similar. It takes an APR-based fee on every loan traded through the app.
Can you talk to us about, you guys launched maybe a few months ago now. What has it been like after you guys have launched? Are you guys working on new products? Are you going back and having to rework some of the products that you've already put out? I mean, what has it been like behind the scenes at Coda that maybe you can talk to us about and explain, what's been happening behind the scenes? I'd love to understand, what the team is focused on building now for the next maybe 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the core challenge for us right now is cash flow neutrality. So, we need to find a way to ensure we're around for the long term. Like Coda is a long-term project. We're not just thinking in terms of this bull cycle or the next bull cycle. We're trying to be a going concern independent of the core team. To do that, we have to be able to cover our expenses, and that happens through wages, by paying wages, basically. We're a wage-heavy company. So we ran a liquidity bootstrap pool at the end of May. We had the TGE on June 5th. And the market is down, and we knew that was going to happen. It was more important for us to prioritize a fair launch and ensure like people who wanted to get into the token as an early adopter weren't being like fleeced with hype marketing, etc. So we ran a fair launch, and we raised I think $130,000. We ended up putting 60% of that into the liquidity pool and locking that for a year. And then the remaining 40% is just used for expenses. That's not enough to run, a company, just for clarity. So I've actually, we had some seed investors in 2022, and I'm actually the largest seed investor. I've personally put more money than any other investor into Steadily and Coda. So we have enough to cover our wages for basically till the end of the year, but it's on us to figure out how to produce more capital. So we're working on a couple of interesting ideas. I can talk about them with you fairly transparently. So one is we can grow revenue. This is quite a challenge because we're in crypto right now and DeFi is out of favor. And when you have a low FDV, which Coda has right now, the incentive for using token-based rewards is very low, because those tokens end up dumping on the market, making the FTV even lower, and it's not very attractive to farmers. So that's not the right audience to work towards. So instead, we need to basically market and advertise our products, but we need capital to do that. Yeah. So we have a bit of a chicken and egg problem. So as a business person, I basically look at our team and what are we really good at? We're really good at creating assets with software on a balance sheet. The problem is these assets are illiquid. So how can I monetize them? We need to hit something like $400 million worth of loans on Constant. We just don't have the order book depth or liquidity to do that within the next 10 months. Well, maybe there's someone else who can operate it, who has the deep pockets or the incentive to build their own stable coin or money market, and we can license the software to them, allowing us to basically create a lot more revenue in the short term. Smart. And then flow that back into the DAO instead of operating ourselves. Huge dose of humility in that process. You have to be we're not the right people to really grow this right now. It makes sense to license this instead. So that's one way to monetize an asset. Another way is through an equity raise. We have 3Balance, which is effectively a fintech product. There's an opportunity to turn that into a company and do it like a traditional safe raise to cover short-term expenses, and then also all the marketing budget we need to grow it. That would still, so part of the corporate treasury tokens in our tokenomics and Steadily would flow into this subsidiary with 3Balance. So 3Balance would continue to be an ecosystem partner while raising these safe funds and covering our expenses. So those are the things we're working on right now with some partners in the private equity space. But it's I would just say it's peak founder ambiguity. It's there's nothing guaranteed. They're very much a startup, but I'm pretty confident based on the feedback we're getting that we will have a deal go through in the next 6 to 12 months.
Awesome. There was a question from the audience. Are there particular strategies you use for portfolio rebalancing, CPPI, percentage, portfolio, etc.? I guess I don't know if you can see the chat, but MMT had a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could address that.
Yeah, I can see that. It is a great question. If you could just clarify, what does CPPI stand for? just so I'm on the same page.
We'll get him
I
to
can
type
answer the
it.
first question in the
Yeah.
meantime. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there was a great question in the Coda DeFi channel in this Discord server that was asked, and it was related to this and constant proportion portfolio insurance. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with that term. So I'm not going to just make up stuff and pretend I know,
Thank you.
but I apologize. I can look it up and answer on the Coda DeFi channel because it may be terminology for something I'm familiar with that I'm just not connecting the dots right now. Um, but I will look it up and get back to you on that channel. So, but I appreciate you for clarifying that. But the core idea behind rebalancing is twofold. So one is it's a more or less passive strategy that prioritizes asset allocation over stock selection. So there's a guy, David Swenson. I was talking to a friend about this pretty recently. He manages the Yale Endowment Fund, and he started, I think, in the 80s, and he's pretty like famously grew it from a very small fund to like an $18 billion fund over that time. And he's like a true student of finance, like very much studying the ideas behind risk and reward and what constitutes like a greater reward over the risk you take in a portfolio. And his thesis is, we can waste time on stock selection, or we can use our time effectively with asset allocation. And this is like a huge challenge because there are great stock selectors out there. And to define that, that's basically saying this is a good buy. And I think there are some really great people out there. I think, like Robert, I think you are one of those people. But I think it's really tough for the average person to be an excellent stock selector and beat the market. Like I think about myself as an example. I have such an information disadvantage when it comes to people like yourself or hedge funds that it doesn't make sense for me to even try to pick the right token or stock or whatever asset it is. It makes more sense for me to think in terms of asset classes, to say crypto is going up instead of meme coin XYZ is going up. So David Swenson has really advocated for this approach, and he's put this in practice over like decades to grow his portfolio, and he does this through sound portfolio management. The tool that is used to enact this strategy is portfolio rebalancing. So it's important to remember that portfolio rebalancing is a tool. It's not the strategy itself. So you have to still figure out what risk you want to take or which assets you want to allocate to. But to execute that properly, and execution risk is one of the biggest things that you can control in ensuring you have good portfolio returns, depends on how you actually execute these trades, what prices you have access to, when you execute these trades. There's a ton of stuff that goes into that. And banks have invested billions of dollars in automated infrastructure to ensure their execution is top notch. But most of us retail investors and traders have, a Uniswap or 1inch or maybe a brokerage account, and we're just trading at whim. We're not actually thinking about execution as this like something we need to master. So this was a real problem that I realized like over my career of investing, both in TradFi and in crypto. And, I'd been studying portfolio rebalancing and portfolio theory since my university days. And I wanted this tool to exist, and no one else had built it. I think there was one company in Canada that built it in TradFi, but it just didn't work well. It was too complicated. So the idea here is, can we create the simplest tool possible so that everyone can understand it and then execute their strategy correctly? So you have to come with your strategy saying, I really, believe I want to be overweight Bitcoin. I want to have 75% wrapped BTC in my portfolio on Ethereum L1, 25% ETH, right? That's your strategy. That's the risk that you take on. But what 3Balance will do is it'll be the tool you don't really have to stress about to ensure you get the allocation you want. I hope that answers your question.
that was a really good answer. MMT has a follow-up. He says, that's the essence of my question. There are so many factors to rebalancing a portfolio. I would guess the average Joe wouldn't know how to access the cumulative potential risks. So I was just interested in the approach you take behind the tool.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think we're on the same wavelength then in terms of what the answer is and what the question's asking. Yeah, three balance is not advocating for one strategy over the other. It's really just a tool in your toolbox as an investor. I think of one of my friends who I would call the laziest investor of all time. He wants to spend 5 minutes every 6 months looking at his portfolio and then get on with the rest of his life. And this tool is partly built for him, right? Like he wants to log into an app, connect his wallet, look at his portfolio. Everything looks relatively normal.
Hmm.
And he's just going to rebalance once and not thinking about it, think about it again. It has to be done in under 5 minutes. But he's got his strategy that he came up with 5, 6 years ago. He's just entering the percentages. Um,
And
yeah.
then,
So potential risks. Yeah, that's something we have to do a lot of education on, I think. Yeah.
no, I completely agree with you. And then William did ask about when people are doing these portfolio rebalancing. That's definitely probably some type of tax event. I'd imagine if you're buying or selling anything, depending on how long you've held that asset, there's some type of tax event there. So I'd say definitely there's a definitely. Is there anything
Yeah.
in the system for Coda that would help with that? But you guys really are not in that arena, right? The tax arena. You guys are more in the
So
rebalancing and doing the financial products.
So yes and no. We have
Zesty.
so double entry accounting tax is the bane of my existence as a founder. It is so much work for zero revenue reward, but it does trigger tax because you are swapping between assets. There is like something called tax loss harvesting that you could do, where you can say you have an asset that's losing money, and like companies like Wealthfront and Wealthsimple, if you're familiar with them, do this as well, where you can swap into an asset with the same risk profile, but then lock in the capital loss in that tax year, so your capital gains tax is lower in that year. An example would be, let's say I invest in wrap staked ETH at $5,000 a coin, and then suddenly it's worth 2,500, and tax it's the end of the tax year coming up. I'm going to switch to Rocket Pool ETH, which is another liquid staked ETH alternative. I'm going to sell my wrap staked ETH for that and lock in the loss on wrap staked ETH, and then have a new lower cost base for my Rocket Pool ETH. It depends on quite a few things in your country. I know in the US, there's like long-term and short-term capital gains tax. We don't really have that in Canada. It's a bit different here. But that allows you to effectively defer your tax as long as possible. So three balance allows you to select a subset of your portfolio you want to rebalance. So you could just choose wrap staked ETH, then add Rocket Pool ETH, go zero wrap staked ETH, 100 Rocket Pool ETH, and do the rebalance that way. But that's more like what an accountant will tell you on how to minimize your tax bill. What I think we can do as product people, and we're working on this, is basically spit out the spreadsheet for your QuickBooks account or accounting software. This is something we really want to build at the steadily level for all of our apps. We're calling it the double entry accounting engine because maybe we're not feeling creative about naming. But basically, it's this accounting engine where we take a bunch of blockchain transactions from each of our apps, we run it through some algorithms, and we spit out debits and credits for your accountant, if you work with an accountant, to be able to go through that and say, okay, this makes sense. And you get a better view into what your capital gains is, your income is, what kind of staking rewards you would get from your portfolio. It's a pretty long-term project. It's not something like that's a whole business in itself. It's not something we can do overnight, but we want to do it incrementally. So it's like maybe it'll be an export CSV feature on three balance one day. Maybe we'll have like some kind of profit analysis over time. It's all starting with something we call the BAP server, which stands for Balance, Approvals, and Prices. So we're building that out right now that allows us to control this infrastructure instead of relying on third parties to get pricing data and balance data from the blockchain. Once we have that, we can build out the accounting functionality. So that stuff will come, but I'm not an accountant. I can't give you accounting advice, but generally selling and buying stuff will trigger tax.
Good information there. Why don't you talk to us about, what other, I know we've kind of talked a lot about kind of what the current products are, what you guys are hoping to achieve in the future. Part of getting there is bringing people from Web 2 into Web 3, right? I ask this question often because it's a really important question of, how do you get people that maybe aren't too into crypto or don't know enough about crypto into starting to use some of your tools? I mean, are you guys thinking about that? Or how do we bridge this gap, I guess is a question I'd ask you, from Web 2 to Web 3.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the solution here is there's multiple parts to it. One is like education, which I think is a universal problem for every operator in the space. And there are a lot of foundations doing the necessary work here. We've sort of just caught up on a bunch of tasks after the token sale, but we are like heavily ramping up our content strategy to ensure our tools are more educational. So that's one thing that's, I think, low hanging fruit. The other thing that I think is a long-term problem for all networks and all apps on networks is how funds are managed. So we talked about one of the benefits of crypto being self-custodial. You don't have to rely on central banks. But there's a huge benefit to working with a bank is that they can give you a nice online banking experience. There's a unified way of interacting with your money. There's a ton of financial infrastructure already built where society works with banks really well. And it's much easier. I think of my grandmother, she knows how to withdraw money from an ATM. If I wanted to ask her to swap assets on Uniswap, she'd think I'm speaking another language. Yeah. Right? So how do we solve this problem? So tools like Balance are starting to come on the scene where, we're saying like there are a ton of liquidity pools out there. There are a ton of DEXs out there. We need to create a unified interface to all of these services, right? Like the plumbing is there, the electricity is there, the sanitation is there. It's time to make a house or a building, right? Put all of this to use together. So that's what we're trying to do. We call this Web 2.5, where we're building basically the user interface and the business value together, but not building the smart contracts. So that's one. The second one is this, account abstraction feature that's been in the works for a while. I think like Biconomy supports it for app developers. But the idea here is that instead of having a typical like end user wallet where you have a private key and public key, you manage your funds in a smart contract. And that smart contract conforms to a standard where apps like Balance are given permission to do certain things on there, like swap for you, manage your approvals for you. So when you want to use Balance, you basically sign a transaction with your own private key that you hold. You never share, like we never take control of this, but you say like Balance is allowed to do rebalances on my wallet. And then in the future, every time you interact with the app, you don't have to like keep signing transactions.
Smart.
You can even set things up on autopilot. I think there's a lot of potential there for onboarding a lot of Web 2 people over. From what I understand is it's not as widespread as we would like, and there's still a lot of work being done on the proposal. But it is like an active area of research for us on how we can integrate it with Balance especially.
You are you were talking about, being the biggest seed investor, right? And back in 2022, and it feels like you've wanted to build this. I mean, did you know whatever you started, whether it was years, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever the time is when you started this whole process, did you know this is what you wanted to build, or did it evolve over time to get where you are right now?
Yeah, I think for me, like I wanted to retire early, to be honest with you, which is probably the most ironic thing I could say at this point. I wanted to retire early, and I wanted to manage my investments and basically like take some kind of withdrawal rate from that, like 3 to 4%. And I wanted to build tooling around it because I had the skills. So that was like my focus. But when I was in the bank, I learned a lot about the financial machine that sort of underpins the world. Like when you go to a retail bank, like you go into Wells Fargo or RBC here in Canada, and you say I want to retire, I need a retirement investment, and they say here are the options, these are the fees, and you put your life savings in there. And there's so much value extraction that happens. Like people are like banks and the intermediaries between you and when the investments actually get made take so much money from investments like that. It became very clear that this can be fixed, you know? And so I fortunately was able to hit that like retirement target fairly early in my life. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, let's actually solve this problem now. Like let's fix this. So that was what fueled the vision. And being like the largest seed investor, like it is a badge of pride. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to pretend it isn't,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like I wanted to have investors involved and to share in this vision with us, you know? And I think part of the challenge in the process was, investors at the end of the last bull market wanted access to the deal more than to realize the vision, if that makes sense. Because it's this new breed of venture capitalists that are operating in the space now that don't have decades of experience, don't have a lot of TradFi experience, but have a lot of crypto experience, and maybe have like some of them have gotten lucky and now have capital to deploy.
Yeah.
So it became like this game of can we get access to this deal? But after they closed the deal, it was more about okay, we're in. Now we don't need to do anything. Like it's hands off. And like on one hand, I love when investors are hands off because we can just do our work. But on the other hand, it was like it felt a bit isolating.
Yeah.
So we hit this like very big turning point last year where we saw the burn rate, we saw where the funds were going, and the whole market was really in the toilet at that point.
Yeah.
It was just like okay, you know what? I'm taking control, and this is the capital we need. I'm going to completely reshape the narrative. Like at that point in time, we were just a lending and borrowing protocol, and that's when things started to change. Like it wasn't this like thing I've been trying to work on for like 20 years. It was more just like I've noticed these problems, and it was the right opportunity in my life to fix those problems because I felt I had the skills and experience to do it. And then I was able to put together a really good team, which was, honestly partially luck. And like I have a lot of gratitude for them for working with me, like to solve it. And we're at this spot now where we have everything in place to actually just execute. So that's sort of the backstory of how I ended up like that. It wasn't like the goal in the beginning.
No,
Yeah.
I love that. And, sometimes I like to ask them these questions because, it's all you're constantly looking at people trying to solve different problems and technologies, but it's always a lot of fun to know kind of where this started and how did we get to where we are today and what were the challenges along the way. And so thank you for sharing that story. MMT did ask another question because MMT is one of my favorite people in the community. So he always asks really good questions. You mentioned HNWs. I guess that is an acronym, using Google Sheets, but I would assume most would already have a portfolio manager handling things for them. Who would you say is your ideal customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. So HNWs, high net worth individuals
Got it.
or people. Yeah, I think so. My former clients in the bank were like family offices or multi-family offices, and that's where very, very rich people set up a company, and that company handles the investments for them. So on the smaller scale, usually a portfolio manager will take on a client and charge fixed percentage per year of their assets to manage them, or some of them will do it as a service, like charge an hourly rate or some monthly fee or something like that. So there are a lot of people that go down that route. There are a lot more wealthy people in the world than I think most of us realize. And portfolio managers are an option, especially for the multi-generational wealth families where the kids don't want to think about it or don't have the same incentive to like build an empire. So they tend to just offload it and delegate that work to someone else. Um, I think like the way like I use a Google Sheet and I don't consider myself like mega wealthy or anything. I'm probably on like the much smaller end of that scale. But based on the crypto people that we've spoken to with anonymity and self-custodial portfolio management being very core like principles. Like no one is keeping their funds on an exchange, for example. And I imagine no one is giving their private keys to a portfolio manager. They tend to use Google Sheets or Excel, that's just the audience. And also people are younger. I think on the more traditional side, Vanguard has famously claimed that taxes and fees are the two biggest things that'll affect your investment return. That's more than strategy, more than asset allocation. If you're a long only investor, those are the two biggest things. So there are a few people on the Web 2 side, the TradFi side, that don't use portfolio managers for this sole reason. So some interesting products. In Canada, we have two ETFs, VEQT and XEQT, from Vanguard and BlackRock iShares, respectively. They are long-only diversified equity ETFs. I'm not like affiliated with them. I just think they're really cool products. They charge like 0.2% a year for you to own these ETFs, and they invest in like US, Canadian, Europe, Asia, Middle East stocks. And usually a passive portfolio like that will outperform an active portfolio manager. And those funds are massive on a Canadian scale. I'm talking billions of dollars under management. So I think people are choosing to forego a portfolio manager, myself included, to choose products like that instead. So I don't think it's the whole market we'll capture through Google Sheets, but I think the market is definitely big enough.
I love that advice. Or the guidance that you're giving, because there's a lot of people in here that want to become high net worth individuals, and they're going through the steps it takes to learn about crypto, to be a good researcher, to be somebody that is good at managing their own money and dealing with all of these things. And so it's really good to have somebody with your knowledge level here to help answer some of these questions. It's really, really important. Why don't we do this? I know we're going to probably have you back here for another session, and you are in the community. Guys, if you don't know this, we actually have Dhruv in a channel called Coda Finance. It's right under our community meme chat channel. It's right under in the crypto area. You can go in there and ask him any question. Obviously, he doesn't have every single answer, but he is there and he is active and he does want to help. And I felt like this was a really good partnership to have, where we're working to kind of help talk about Coda's goals and what they're trying to achieve as a project, as well as he's here to help you maybe do better at what you're trying to get done. And so why don't I give you the final word here? Is there anything you wanted to say in kind of closing, or if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about with Coda? Why don't you take the next few minutes to kind of go over those things, and then we can, have you back maybe towards the end of this month or another time where you can come and we'll talk more about the products and some other questions that we can get through.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate you having me, first of all. Like, I have an incredible level of respect for you. And I think you're a very genuine person and very transparent. I've tuned into a few of these before we hosted this one, and I was just very, very impressed. So
thank you.
Very humbled and grateful to be here. The only sort of parting remark is, I'm here to help, to the best of my ability. Like you said, I don't have the answers to all the questions, but I feel like I have some interesting experience that I would just love to share. It's not for there's obviously some personal benefit because I am promoting Coda and I'm leading the Coda project right now. So I definitely will be promoting that. But my primary objective here, and this is out of respect for you, Robert, and the Cryptonairz community, is to offer help. I know I want you to receive more benefit than Coda gets out of this partnership. And that's how I'm going to approach it. So I will do my very best to respond in a timely manner and answer any questions you may have. Happy for this to be community oriented as well. If people just want to ask random things or request videos, I'm happy to collaborate in any way you see fit.
I love that. Thank you so much. It really is about passion and helping people. And this is why we created Cryptonairz, so many years ago. And it's just having people like you coming in and sharing, your goals and your visions and your dreams and all of the stuff that you have. I mean, there's so many things that that I would love to ask. I feel like I could ask you questions for hours, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we look forward to having you back. And maybe what we can do next time too is we'll talk a little bit about Coda, but we can talk about the crypto market and what you're seeing too, and getting some feedback from you, because I know that you probably look at the crypto market a little differently than I do, or maybe some of the audience does. And it would be really great to get your opinion and your 2 cents about what's going on.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful weekend, and I know I'll be talking with you very soon.
That's good.
All right. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the news, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for that. You meet the most interesting people in crypto, and and being able to sit down with some of these founders and listening to what they've been through and what their goals are and what they're trying to achieve. It's powerful stuff, and it's really nice. Always learning, and it just really appreciate it. Looks like JP's current situation is he's on his back. So I know he's trying to move, and it doesn't look like he's been too successful. So hopefully you are okay, my friend JP. Let's go ahead and share my screen here. There is some stuff I want to get into. The market is, it is falling from the sky, right? And usually when this happens, we start to panic. But it'll be okay. Okay. Bitcoin is at 56,000. It's going to be okay. So over the last few weeks, we've gotten together and we've been talking about what's going on with Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox was hacked, Japanese exchange hacked back in 2014. A lot of Bitcoin went missing, and some of that was retrieved, right? But it's been a 10-year battle. And so a lot of this Bitcoin, there's about 140,000 Bitcoin that's going to be given back to some of these people that lost pretty much everything during that time. And you are getting a little bit of panic here in the market. Ethereum is under $3,000 right now, down 12%. Now, look at this, BNB down 12%. Like, things are falling from the sky. But I want you to know that it's going to be okay. Right? I know that maybe if this is your first time through this, you might be looking around and wondering, why did you choose to start learning about cryptocurrency, right? Because this is awful. I get it. But just know it does get better, and it gets a lot better. And when it does get better, you're going to be having different thoughts of like, man, I can't believe I was able to make this much money. Crypto is an incredible place, right? It is a very scary place, but at the same time, it can be very incredible. And this is why it takes time to learn how to do things, when to position, when to sell, when to get out, when to move on to something else. These are all skills that you start to develop and learn over time, but it does take going through something to get to those points, right? And I just want you to know, it'll be okay. It'll be okay, right? I can't help but smile when I look at this. It sucks because a lot of your positions, my positions, are down right now, but I can't wait. This is all going to turn green very soon. Whether it's a few weeks, I can't imagine it's going to be a few months. I really do think mid-July, end of July, things will start really going green again. And I think this will start rebounding once all of that fear is out. I think people are just panic selling right now. I don't really think people have a strategy. I think it's just kind of panicking. So what I would like to do is, usually when things go through the desk and start burning the floor, you start to take a look around and you start to wonder, hey, what can I be doing, or how can I avoid this next time? Or, what should I be looking at to try to help make better decisions, right? And you just have people that are lined up thinking that, hey, the bull run is over. This is a waste of time. I'm going to go back and go into the stock market or whatever you want to do. But just know that, it'll get better, right? Many factors are affecting the market, including Mt. Gox, Germany, elections, ETFs, and FTX payouts, right? So these are the really hot buttons that are really affecting the market. And so this person spent, they said they spent 100 hours analyzing the market, and this is what they came up with. So we are currently in a stage of depression, and most are leaving crypto. People are selling, no longer believing in the future of growth. But this happens every cycle, and if you look at the bigger picture, it's not all that bad, right? So this is where they're saying we're in this depression phase real quick here. And then although altcoins are currently significantly underperforming compared to Bitcoin, Bitcoin itself has already done a 2x since the ETF approval. Now no one is buying because BTC is too expensive. And this is precisely the moment when big growths begin. Remember, the biggest movement in Bitcoin usually happens in only 10 days in the entire bull market is when Bitcoin usually moves the most. Maybe locally in the next month, we won't see any significant growth considering the amount of FUD due to the small inflow in the ETF, ETH ETF, or the summer stagnation itself. But buying during this dip will give you big profit, right? There is a lot of stuff that it is down 80-90% from where maybe it was just, at the end of March. And people really are panicking right now. And what I think, if you can look past the, whatever cryptocurrency is, I mean, everyone has a different flavor of what they like. Some of you are here for real world assets. Some of you are here for gaming. Some of you are here for AI or DePIN, whatever it is, right? It'll get better. Usually when this fear index reaches a low point of 20 or 24 here, this is usually the best time to be buying crypto. And I know it's really hard to look around and say, hey, maybe you don't have the extra money or whatever it is. I get it, right? But things are going to get better. And usually when this goes full altcoin season, and this is in the 80s or 90s, this is really where you want to be selling and taking profit. So understand that you really want to do the reverse of here. When everyone is very, very fearful, this is where you want to be buying. And when everyone's really kind of euphoric and everyone's making money on just the dumbest coins imaginable, that is really when you want to be selling and having an exit strategy. There's a few more things here that says, therefore, try to stay focused on the positive factors that will drive growth, such as ETF, ETHs, S1s from form approvals, Trump's crypto support they put on here, countries cutting rates, and there are even more factors, but people are more interested in spreading FUD than considered both sides. It goes, I recommend that you take the position now on the focus of the following: learn some new skills, research new narratives and ideas, and then search for undervalued alts, right? These are all really good things to do. And then talks about Bitcoin dominance that we were not going to get into. Trading volume is actually down. Trading volume is currently much lower than it was in 2020-21. Even though Bitcoin's price is higher, there's no retail involvement yet. So retail hasn't come back yet. You are a lone warrior out here. The people around you, look to the person to your left, look to the person to your right. You are the same person, just in different walks of life from different places of the world. Okay. The mass majority of people have not come back to crypto yet. And this is what we're missing out. We're missing that liquidity coming into the market. And I do think that is going to change here over the next few months. This index indicates new capital entering the crypto market. As we can see, we are far from reaching levels seen in previous cycles. Once liquidity starts to increase, the market will grow accordingly. And so this has all the stables down here. If you take a look, USDT is this green here. USDC is the blue. This is where we were here in 2021, towards the end of 2022. This is March of 2022, but this is like the last bull market, and this is kind of our current levels right now. So we are very far away from where we need to be to really take this to the next level. Global Net Liquidity Index. I know that a lot of people pay attention to this. This indicates this indicator gathers major central banks' assets and the Fed reserves. For now, we can see that global liquidity is also in consolidation. You also have a good way to kill your doubts about the market is to follow opinions for pro traders, yada, yada, yada. GCR, I've talked to you about GCR in the past. This person's made like $1 billion in crypto, but there's a few things, right? This is kind of where we are right here, right? This is this line, this sentiment here. And we're in this like bear trap where people are panic selling, but we are going to be coming up to this renewed optimism, the FOMO, and then the euphoria stage. If my goal as somebody that gets up here twice a week and is always in the community trying to educate you on different narratives and shifts and tokens and things that are happening in the crypto market, my job is to try to help you understand that we are going to enter into an incredible time in the crypto market. It's the most fun time to be in. And right now you're doing all of the hard work. You're here when things are shit. You're here when things are hard. And that is, you're going to reap the most benefits out of the crypto market, because the people that are going to come back when retail comes back, those people are not going to have any clue what to buy. Those people are going to be buying, dog and cat and political coins that are billions in market cap, and they're going to lose a ton of money, but they're going to come back because we're going to get to this FOMO and euphoria moment. Okay, but right now is the time to just have a plan of action, understand what you're trying to do, understand crypto narratives, and take advantage of that. But please understand that you need to get out during these phases, this FOMO and euphoria phase, even this short across the bow this phase, right? Or this lower high phase. These are all areas that you need to be paying attention to, because if you don't exit or if you don't plan accordingly during this time, you are going to just fall back down and be in the same position you are right now. Okay. So I just want to spend some time. And so this is here down from the recent tops. Bitcoin down 24%. Ethereum is down 27%. Sol is down 35%. Popcat 40%. Even Pendle, right? Ethereum staking is down 52%. Jupiter is down 60%. Thor 63. WIF 64. Rune is down 70%. And then Tremp, I don't know why they put Tremp on here, but that is down almost 70%. We don't really need to get into that. I did want to go over, when we were talking about a plan, people often say, well, what tokens should I be looking at? And that's a really like a double-sided question, right? One, there's what you should be doing and what you want to do is two different things, right? If you want to invest in the crypto market and you want to invest in the assets that are still going to be here, through this next bear market probably, and hopefully into the next bull market, you need to probably put your money into stuff that is on the screen, okay? Stuff like Ondo, Render, Tau. I really think these, Link, Solana, these assets are definitely going to be here years from now. Even stuff like XRP, AVAX. These are really solid assets. Propi, I think it's a really pretty solid asset. Uniswap, these are things that are not going to be going away anytime soon, right? I think a lot of us, we see stuff, like TCAT, or we look at like ton season, we see something that's gone up a 20x in 5 or 6 days, and we want more of that, right? I think, I don't know if that's greed that kicks in or it's just the excitement, but these are very, they can be very dangerous things to get into. And I don't know if these things will be here in a year from now or 6 months from now. And so taking advantage of when these things are up hundreds of a percent in just a few days, this is really when you need to be, taking profits. But I wanted to talk about this, right? There's a narrative shift that is changing in the meme coin market, especially on the TON network. And I felt it was very important for me to explain this to you in the best way that I can, is just going through this. What is PvP versus PPP? And Meow, I believe this person is a, hold on, let me just copy this before I do something crazier. I think this person is a Zero IQ, ADHD, Tornado Cat, Jupiter Exchange. Yeah, this person is a developer for Tornado Exchange. And I think this person's like a billionaire now, but they put this out on just a few days ago, and I wanted to go through this with you and just kind of lead you into this new narrative that is forming. But it says, one of the most important things for me is to shift crypto from PvP to a PPP mindset. The difference is a PPP is player pump player. Communities wants the last person in to win. PvP is player versus player. Communities wants the last person in to be their exit. PPP are by definition infinite games, while PvP are backed by default deeply finite games, finite games with a clear endpoint, the last sucker. So basically this is talking about the current community or meme coin structure is this player versus player, where you are playing against everybody else. And this is kind of how the crypto market goes, right? There's winners and then there's losers, depending on where you're getting in and selling that token. But this person wants to shift the narrative, the mindset to player pump player, where everybody's kind of helping themselves out. And so it says, but why is PvP so prevalent? To the point where most outsiders and even many insiders feel that crypto is fundamentally a PvP game. It's because PvP communities are super easy to form, since all of the members need to agree on is that they attracting more people to buy their coin quite literally makes them richer, thanks to magic money creation. And so they would do a lot more of that. In contrast, PPP communities are incredibly hard to build, since the core emphasizes on the community. The community cannot be around by attracting others in hopes of dumping on them, but rather towards having more allies, towards building a common long-term future together. That said, the future of crypto is most certainly PPP. Because even if 99.9% of new communities are PvP, the 0.0001% that lasts and thrives are certainly going to be PPP. The hallmark of great communities like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and hopefully Jupiter have been community that is very aligned towards helping every single new entrant into the network win, versus treating them as a pile of money to buy their bags. PPP will win in the end because it is the very best mindset in crypto, combining the essence of communal vision and profiting. It's neither cynical nor delusional, instead having both idealism and pragmatism. It is the only way forward in crypto, because there is no community there that can survive being eaten from the inside. Yet, of course, today crypto has a really bad rap for being PvP, where all public perception is often that out of greed, greedy mofos creating and shilling magic internet money and saying anything in order to dump on the last sucker entering. The core problem is that the perception, of course, is that there is a lot of truth to that point, and even the most earnest participants often think I think it's the thing we can do, of course, is actively reject PvP communities and invest your time into the energy into cultivating real relationships and expertise in PvP communities versus the transient man eat boy once in the PvP space. So there's a lot going on here, but the majority is you want to find communities that are PvP and not PvP. And I think crypto is, I spend a lot of my day on Twitter, and the shilling is insane, right? And what happens here is, like, you have somebody that shills 50 tokens and 48 of the tokens rug, but 2 of the tokens do well. And you know what, they go and they delete all of the runs that rugged, and they only keep the posts that do well, and then they say, oh well, I told you about this when it was 100K market cap, right? But you don't see all of the stuff that fails around them, and that's really the hard part. But what I'm trying to get to is that ton, I do think, is a movement. Telegram, has so many users, and the way that they're integrating all of these new features, I do think that TCAT and TSC are these new PPP narratives, right? Ton Season and TCAT. And I think both of these could be huge, huge, huge narratives in the Telegram space. And, I've spent the last few days going through a ton of different tokens that have to do with Telegram, and TSE and TCAT are probably the 2 best ones that I found as far as community goes. And we did talk about these last Sensei Chat. You could have picked this up for, I think, 9 million then. TSE, I think, was at like 2 million, 2.5 million. It was actually a lot cheaper. But, I was posting about these. I should have bought a little bit more TCAT, but my main focus was TSE. I bought a lot of this around 350,000 market cap, and I was trying to pick up and talk about this more, like 650,000, even at $1 million. I was really posting about this in the community. And so I'm spending a lot of my time right now focused on learning, because I do think if you take a look at some of these numbers, you'll see what I mean here. But WIF Dev sold 350 million WIF for 29K. Now it would have been worth 693 million. TCAT Dev sold 77 million TCAT for $1,200. Now it would have been worth 1.5 million. WIF 1.9 billion market cap, but TCAT is only 19. So I think if you take a look here, this is probably one of the biggest cat narrative tokens on Telegram. And if you think Telegram is going to be 5x or 6x where it is, right now at the end of the bull market, I think this token could be $1 billion token realistically. If you take a look at every chain has to have some type of big cat narrative or dog narrative or political narrative. I think TCAT could definitely be one of the biggest narratives. So I just wanted to spend a little time talking with you about this and seeing if there's any questions that you guys have. We are putting together a document right now about how to use Telegram's blockchain, like where to get TON, what bots to use, what are some good classes or some good videos that you could watch to better help all of this stuff out. We are working on that document right now. It should be ready to go early next week sometime. Give our team a little bit of time to put that together. But what I want to be able to do is give you a link for a Google Doc. You can go in there. You could start learning on how to do all of this stuff really easily, just in a few steps. All right. That was a whole lot to say. Kind of blind now because I've just been ranting and raving here for 25 minutes. But ton season is like, do you wish to be a master of TON blockchain trader? Follow this profile. But all tools that you need to start trading on TON. This is actually a really good thread here. You have TON, bridge.ton.org, Rocket Exchange. You have Simple Swap, ChangeNow.io. There's a few different things that you can use here. TON Keeper. There's wallets. There's scanners. There's trading bots. There's all kinds of stuff. So in the meantime, while we're preparing this document, please take a look at this and start using this. I woke up yesterday and TSC was down 40%. Yeah, I know. Well, I told you to buy this. Like, you were moving though, so you couldn't, right? When I call you and tell you to buy something, you should go buy it. I've been right so many times when I've called you to tell you to buy stuff, JP. You just won't buy meme coins. And I don't know why I call you and tell you to buy them. The two people I tell the most things about meme coins I talk to JP a lot about it. And then I talk to my friend Dwight about it. And my friend Dwight won't touch crypto. Like he's my best friend. He's been my friend for like 20 years. And he won't. He'll listen to my stories, but he will not touch crypto. Anyways, TON Tiny, 900 million people have no clue what's coming, right? Part of crypto adoption is having users. And if Telegram already has almost 1 billion users, what do you think is going to happen next? Okay. What do you think is going to happen next? Please pay attention to this. Like I'm begging you to pay attention to this. Okay. There are some new, T-Dog is a token that people have been talking about. I did post that one in the chat. I did buy $1,000 for that one. I'm not too sure as that one, but if you remember, I called TON. You guys remember when I called TON at 1.5 million? It went to 100 and something million, right? There's been some really amazing TON calls in the community over the last 5 or 6 months. So be paying attention to TON right now, because I think that's where you're going to find the biggest gains currently. And the two biggest meme coins on TON are TSA and TCAT. This guy is a little, one-sided because he just made $1 million off of owning TCAT. This guy has, I think, I don't know how much TCAT. I think this guy has like 1 million TCAT. I think this guy is going to make $50 million or $100 million on trading TON coins. So follow that guy's account. He's probably one of the better people I've seen posting real information about TON community plays. Okay. And if you just take a look at, where we are going, where we've been and where we are going, there's so much interest coming into the TON blockchain. And I am glad that I talked to you about this like 4 or 5 months ago. Remember, we had the same conversation before April when this was starting to go up. You guys remember it was like right here. And so, just be paying attention, because crypto does shift on a dime, and there is money to be made. I'm looking at I don't know if this is a good project, so don't take what I'm putting on the screen here as you know, hey, this is. I did see that they're trying to launch a Ton with Hat token, and I was sharing this with a few people that I've been doing some research with. This could be something. I'm trying to do some more information on it, so I'm just going to give you this. I'll give you both of these things. This hasn't launched yet, but I'm taking a look at this. So this is kind of like pre-launch information. I will let you know if I decide to buy this, but it could be something. All right. There's a few other things. There's this token too on Ton. I wanted to give you some things that I'm currently looking at. There's this cutest kitten on Ton, which is big in Russia. It's called Shaiman Yoktan. I don't know. But this, I haven't bought this one yet, but this is something I wanted to put on your screen. This has been at a steady $1 million market cap for the last few days. Hasn't really gone up too much. Hasn't really gone down too much. But I'm looking at this. I did, however, buy some of this. This is called Boys Club, B Club on Ton. And you haven't missed anything here. I posted this at about 675,000 market cap. It's at 681, so it hasn't gone anywhere since I posted it. Let me add this to my watch list here. But you know, this could be definitely a community coin that's building on Ton. It's called Boys Club. So we'll see what happens. You really don't know what's going to start taking off on a massive scale. But I did, in fact, buy this one. So we'll see what happens. I just wanted to share that with you. Also, well, there's some things that I want to talk to you about here that I can't really talk to you about on stream. So give me a second. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk with you guys about. You know, I do have a private Twitter group that people throw around some tokens and ideas that is absolutely free if you're interested in joining that. Of course, I have my Cryptonairz community where I do these streams live out of. That I'm sharing all of these ideas and tokens that I'm finding constantly, you know, whether it's the weekend or late night or whenever I'm online and people are sharing stuff with me. I always share it in Cryptonairz first. So if you're interested in joining either one of those things, you can always go into the description of this video and join Cryptonairz. There's a few other pieces of news I wanted to get into here. Looking forward to talking about a Custodia Bank here. So former Solicitor General under Obama, Donald Varelli, says regulations are deliberately debanking crypto. Despite the digital asset industry pressing need for banking services, federal regulators have waged a concerted and coordinated campaign to debank the entire crypto market in the US. And so this is in fact a all-out war on the crypto industry and the banking industry inside of the US. I don't know if it's going to change under Biden. I really don't. I thought that maybe they would have made some changes already. Let's say like to Gary Gensler or, you know, doing some things like that. But I don't know if crypto's at top of the priority list in the Biden administration right now. So I do know that the Trump administration, Trump has been talking more about crypto. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually going to do anything when they get in office, but it's good that the conversation is happening. Mario Nafal posted this, but, you know, people are kicking over the robots. You know, you just got to remember that, one day robots will be taking over us. And so, you know, be nice to them, because you want them to be nice to you. I don't know, man. I don't know. I always think robots, are, you know, have souls. I know people say machines don't have souls, but I don't know. These type of videos kind of make me angry when people are kicking around little guy like that. All right. Top niches in crypto most people are sleeping on, of course, are DePIN and DeFi. This was just a tweet just reminding us kind of what are the you know, top digital resource networks and physical resource infrastructures. Let me go ahead and post this for you if you want to take a look at those. Because Rob lived in Vegas. Who are we talking about? Me? I was going to live in Vegas. Then I realized how hot it was, and I was like, I don't want to live here. That's when I moved back to Hawaii. Of course, Evernote, right? Bull Run Wonka, this gentleman, and I have completely different political views, but we do love crypto and we do love Evernote. And so he sent me this. When Evernote came out and you could actually launch nodes, we did talk about this. We talked about this in Sensei Chat. We talked about this. Everyone was sharing different, guides on how to set up nodes and videos and all that stuff. I just want to remind any people that are new to the community that Evernode is trying to bring smart contract functionality to the XRP ledger. And I do think this is important to pay attention to. And so I'm going to post this here. If you're interested in launching an Evernode or taking advantage of that, buying the Ever token might be a really good idea too if you believe in what they're trying to do, what they're trying to build. There's also a few other things I wanted to talk about here. Let me see. Let me just close this. Delete. Let me close this. Let me close this. 1 second here. There's a few other things that I wanted to talk about. I just have too many. All right, here. So some other stuff that's going on right now. Fed's critical warning sparks serious 50,000 Bitcoin price crash alerts as of 200 billion is wiped out from Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and crypto. Massive liquidity crunch right now. People are getting wiped out. I think there's a lot of people that were, hoping that the market was going to start going up. A lot of people taking leverage. People just got liquidated, fully wiped out. Crypto crash pushes fear and greed index to the lowest level since Bitcoin traded at 17,000 in early 2023. Like, this is really what we want though, guys. We want better prices. We want retail to feel like they can come back and start buying. I know it's painful now, but just bear with me here. And then here you go, $170 billion wiped out of cryptocurrencies as market tanks Mt. Gox. But we were talking about this the last four weeks, right? Like, you knew this was coming if you were just in Sensei Chat. Like, this doesn't surprise me. German government still holds over 40,000 Bitcoin and after recent sale on-chain data shows, right? So you have the US government, you have the Germany, a lot of these governments that have taken a lot of Bitcoin that was used for, any type of online pharmacy or exchanges where you buy illegal whatever. This is where these governments get a lot of this Bitcoin. And then you also have Ethereum breaches key support area as SEC delays ETF decision. So this is actually kind of painful for Ethereum holders. SEC delays decision on Ethereum's ETF S1 drafts, and analysts shifted their potential launch date. Again, Ethereum whales risk liquidation if ETH declines to 2,984. I do think we went below that, didn't we? So let me see here. 2,989. Man, it's close, right? 84, right? It's $5 off. So I don't. That could create even more of a collapse on Ethereum. So something to pay attention to. Ethereum is down more than 5% on Thursday following the Securities and Exchange Commission failure to approve ETF. So this is what happened to Ethereum yesterday. Hopefully they will get this resolved here. This says this would theoretically mean launch week of July 15th for spot ETFs for Ethereum. We'll have to see if that actually holds true. Whale deposited 12,734 Ethereum worth $40 million to compound and borrow $31 million worth of dollar-dominated stablecoins as a health rate of 106. The whale risk liquidation price. Oh, could you imagine? Could you imagine if you just did this? You'd lose $9 million, right? Because you'd keep the stables, right? You'd lose about $8.6 million if you got liquidated at this price. Man, just another few dollars and that guy's liquidated. A lot of stuff happening in the market, guys. I don't want you to get too depressed. But Tangem introduces Visa integrated crypto wallet for secure payments. Cryptocurrency wallet firm Tangem is collaborating with Visa to bring self-custody and mainstream payments together. Tangem has partnered with Visa to introduce a new hardware wallet technology integrated with Visa payment cards. The firm announced on July 4th the new business to consumer or B2C product will be released under the Tangem brand and is expected to be launched by the end of this year-end, Tangem Chief Technology Officer said. So that's pretty cool. You'd love to see, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they're all getting into the crypto market. Have been for a long time. And I thought I wanted to kind of end here. A recent study found that cryptocurrency ownership is associated with the belief in conspiracy theories and dark personality traits such as narcissism, Machiavellianism, sociopathy, and sadism. I don't know, right? I guess there's all kinds of different people that own crypto, but I don't know what your thought was on that. Listen to this. I'm going to start up streaming and answer some questions inside of the community. There's some things I want to talk about. I can't do it on stream. So if you wanted to come in and be a part of the conversation, you can join the conversation for free. Just go ahead and join the community. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating in this chat. I will see you on Tuesday. Aloha.